We is back on all black everything. Pick up a book since I'm not on the Instagram right now, but I'm gonna go ahead and still provide it. We still on Death of the West, Chapter 3, Catechism of the Revolution. And let's see what's going on, y'all. This is an extension, obviously, because this does have to do with us being black people. Yes, you better pay attention. You better pay attention and do your own research. Don't take my word for nothing. Um, yeah, here we go. All black everything. On, you know what I'm saying? Look at we got our own t-shirts. Look, that's that custom made. Boy, get you one. Mm-hmm. We getting it in. And yes, we do want the rights to this music, so go ahead and vibe to it. Here we go. Chapter 3, Catechism of a Revolution. When the round table is broken, every man must follow Galahad or Madrid. Middle things are gone. C.S. Lewis. What does this new religion, this new faith that came on the wings of the revolution hold to teach and teach? How does it differ from the old? First, recognize any higher moral order or moral authority. As for the next world, it will happily yield to the Christianity and traditional faiths, so long as they stay out of the public square and public schools. As for the old biblical stories of creation, Adam and Eve, the serpent in the garden, original sin, the expulsion from Eden, Moses on Mount Sinai, and the Ten Commandments being written in stone, binding on all men, excuse me, believe all that if you wish, but it is never again to be taught as truth. Let me say it again. Believe all that if you wish, but it is never again to be taught as truth. For the truth, as discovered by Darwin and confirmed by science, is that our species and the world are the remarkable results of eons of evolution. Science affirms that the human race is an emergence from natural evolutionary forces, declares the Second Humanist Manifesto written in 1973. The picture on the wall in the biology class of the apes walking on four legs, then two, then evolving into Homo erectus. That is how it happened. The new gospel has as its governing axioms: there is no God. There are no absolute values in the universe. The supernatural is superstition. All life begins here and ends here. The object is human happiness in this, the only world we shall ever know. Each society establishes its own moral code for its own time, and each man and woman has the right to do the same. As happiness is life's end, and we are rational beings, we have a right to decide when the pain of living outweighs the pleasure of living and to end this life, either by ourselves or with the assistance of family or doctors. In the moral realm, the first commandment is all lifestyles are equal. Love is natural. Love and its natural commitment, con, was it concomitant, and sex are healthy and good. All voluntary sexual relations are permissible, and all are morally equal. No business but one's own, and certainly not the business of the state to prohibit. This principle, all lifestyles are equal, is to be written into law, and those who refuse to respect the new laws are to be punished. The disrespect in alternative lifestyles marks as one of a biggie. Discrimination against those who adopt an alternate lifestyle is a crime. Homophobia is not homosexuality. Excuse me, homophobia, not homosexuality, is the evil that must be eradicated. Thou shalt not be judgmental is the second commandment. but the revolution is not only judgmental, it is severe on those who violate the first commandment. How defend how defend this apparent double standard? According to the Catechism of the Revolution, the old Christian moral code, the condom, excuse me, the condemning of sex outside of marriage and held homosexuality to be unnatural and immoral was rooted in prejudice, biblical bigotry, religious dogma, and barbaric tradition. That repressive and cruel Christian code was an impediment to human fulfillment and happiness and responsible for the ruin of countless lives, especially those of gay men and women. The new moral code is based on enlightenment, reason, and respect for all. When the state wrote the Christian moral code into law, it codified bigotry. But when we write our moral code into law, we advance the frontiers of freedom and protect the rights of persecuted minorities. A corollary to the new moral code that enshrines sexual freedom logically follows. As condoms and abortion are necessary to prevent the unwanted and undesirable consequences of free love, from her from herpes to HIV to pregnancy, these must be made available to anyone who is sexually active down to fifth grade if need be. Under the new catechism, the use of public schools indoctrines children in Judeo-Christian beliefs is strictly forbidden, but public schools can and should be used to indoctrinate children in tolerance of all lifestyles and appreciation for reproductive freedom, respect for all cultures, and the desirability of racial, ethnic, and religious diversity. In the new schools, the holidays of Easter week, commemorating the Passion, Crucifixion, and Resurrection of Christ, are out as holidays. Earth Day, where the children are taught to love, preserve, and protect Mother Earth, is our day of atonement and reflection, from which no child is exempt. Environmentalism, wrote the conservative uh, scholar Robert Nesbitt, is, quote, well on its way to being the third great wave of redemptive struggle in Western history. The first being Christianity, the second modern socialism, end quote. The Cultural Revolution is not about creating a level playing field for all faiths. It's about a new moral hegemony. hegemony. After all the Bible's books, symbols, pictures, commandments, and holidays have been purged from the schools, these schools shall be converted into learning centers of the new religion. Here is John Dunphy writing with a refreshing candor in 1983 in The Humanist about the new role of America's public schools. He says, the battle for humankind's future must be fought and won in the public school classroom by teachers who correctly perceive their role as philosophizers of a new faith, a religion of humanity. These teachers must embody the same selfless dedication as the most rabid fundamentalist preachers, for they will be ministers of another sort, utilizing a classroom instead of a pulpit to convey humanist values in whatever subject they teach. The classroom must and will become an arena of conflict between the old and the new. The rotting corpse of Christianity, together with all its adjacent evils and mystery, and the new faith of humanism, re- resplendent in its promise of a world in which the never realized Christian ideal of love thy neighbor will be finally achieved. The new secularism is no milk and water faith. Now, ain't no quick fix. Gotta let it bake a little bit. Check it. It says, in politics, the new faith is a globalist and skeptical of patriotism, for an excessive love of country too often leads to the suspicion of neighbors and thence to war. The history of nations is a history of wars, and the new faith intends to end. The new faith intends an end of nations. Support for the UN foreign aid treaties to ban landmines, abolish nuclear weapons, punish war crimes, and forgive the debts of poor nations are marks of the progressive men and women. Whenever the new supernatural, excuse me, supernatural institutions informed the World Trade Organization, the Kyoto Protocol to prevent the global warming, the new UN International Criminal Court. The revolution will support the transfer of authority and sovereignty from nations to the new institutions of global governance. Shelley once, excuse me, Shelley once called poets the quote unacknowledged legislators of the world, end quote. In modern times, songwriters have replaced poets in the consciousness of the young. In the 1960s, the Beatles were the most famous, with John Lennon, the poet, literate laureate to a generation. In his song Imagine, Lennon says in a few stanzas, the heaven on earth that is envisioned in the post Christianity dispensation. He says, imagine there is no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us, only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there is no countries. Isn't it hard to do? Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. That's your boy John Lennon. Check it out. Don't take my word for it. Check it out for yourself. A self-described instinctive socialist, Lennon went on to imagine a world of no possessions where everyone shares everything. Yet, on his death at 40, the world would learn that Lennon had coolly managed to acquire $275 million worth of possessions, making him one of the richest men on earth. And though the world of John Lennon's imagination and that of fellow Beatle Paul McCartney and Bob Dylan was utopian, that did not diminish its attraction for the young. For these songwriters offered a new faith to believe in, and with its own beatific vision of life here on earth, to replace the Christian faith that has shriveled in their souls. As David Noble, author of The Legacy of John Lennon, wrote, the poet songwriter knew exactly what he was about. In a statement that stunned the America of the mid 1960s, Lennon predicted, quote, Christianity will go, it will vanish and shrink. I needn't argue about that. I'm right and will be proven right. We're more popular than Jesus now. End quote. That's what John Lennon said. And we're gonna go ahead and end it right there. We're gonna come back to the cancer of humanity history. The cancer of humanity history. We're gonna come back with Death to the West, chapter 3. We're getting it in. This is still All Black Everything. Check it out. Like it, subscribe, share it. Love it. Peace, y'all. Here we go. Death to the West. /pick up a book too. Brainbuster. Bombers is back. Yeah, this is simple. Bang the instrumental. Game over. Nah.